This is kind of good. He has even the southmost victory point in his control, but those riflemen of course could be used to decap the high munition point or even the fuel point there. However, a second Puma that is now out for the Wehrmacht player is going to be more than enough to deal with those riflemen there, and at this moment we should be seeing some either a back tech to motorable to get some AT guns for the American player, or even more armor coming out of the tank depot, and that's exactly what we see. More armor coming out of the tank depot. We are currently at the 15 minute 50, 51, 52, 53 second mark, and some riflemen taking cover in the stone house near to the east portion of the map, taking on those Grens and those folks. Some grenades being thrown by the grenadiers, prompt move by the American player moving out of the house and reinforcing that particular area with a couple of flame engineers and another rifleman squad, another M10 out for him. Do we have a Stuk in the makings? No, we don't. So the Wehrmacht player seems to think that his double equipped with the Shrek, with double Shrek Grenadier squad is going to be more than enough to deal with the M10, and that actually may be the case. First shot from the panzershrecks actually hits the M10. However, those riflemen and those engineers are gonna be causing some problems for the Wehrmacht infantry. However, equal problems for the American infantry are caused by those two Pumas. And of course the med bunker, since the mud bunker was not addressed in the early phases of the game, it's still standing, so whatever losses of Wehrmacht infantry come out of these engagements will most probably be translated into grenadiers. Captured MG42 not doing much, covering the mid victory point, which however is not in the hands of the American players, so no point to guard that particular victory point at all. M10 taking some more shots from the panzershrecks. Puma in the west gets Miss Micro, takes a sticky, however it's gonna be more than okay. Those Wehrmacht pioneers will most probably make their way there and repair it rather soon. Another Stug out for the Wehrmacht player. No comfort center up for him, no veterancy on any of his units yet, but he seems to be doing well. He stays around his med bunker, he defends against the American attacks rather good, and of course he just tried to solidify that position while of course paying some attention to the victory points. A victory point situation that is currently at 292 for the Wehrmacht player. Actually 289 for the Wehrmacht player against 430 for the American player, and we even have a squad of Rangers on the field. Now Rangers are actually good against the Pumas, provided of course their bazookas hit, that they actually do in most cases. At medium range, at medium to short range they do. At long, nah, not so much. But in any case, against the Stugs, the Rangers are not going to be that good at all, and we even have a second sniper out by the Wehrmacht player recognizing of course that heavy infantry play supported that by M10s, and he's most probably thinking, I can deal with the M10s with some Shreks and the Stug, but how I'm gonna deal with infantry since I just don't have an MG42 even at this moment. So that was the unit that went down previously. It said it was an MG42. Wow, that's something to know, good to know. So yeah, what was I saying? Two snipers out for the Wehrmacht player. That's gonna be a pain to deal with for the American player. Those snipers was most probably focused on the high value unit, and that's of course the Rangers, since the Rangers are really expensive to reinforce and actually are one of the threats that the Wehrmacht player has to deal with as far as his Pumas go. Another salvo of panzershrecks going off against that M10, bring it down to around 20% health. And those M10s really not being used at their best of their ability, because exactly because of the fact that of those Shreks doing a massive amount of damage to their paper-thin armor. And there's also that Stug to take into consideration whenever you try to commit to an attack as an American player with those M10s. At this moment, I I would think that if he wanted to make a move once again, that should be coupled with some off-map artillery barrage to dislodge some of the Wehrmacht defenses, or even try to take on some of the... I mean, to get lucky on with some of the hits on a Stug or the sniper, something in that regard. He does not seem to be taking to WC to get a counter snipe for him, and that's going to be something. I mean, how are you going to deal with two Wehrmacht snipers without a counter sniper of your own? That's an issue to be, you know, to be seen. Another Stug by the Wehrmacht player. Nope, actually now the Kampfraff center goes up, so up to now, up to 2 Stugs, 2 Pumas, 2 snipers, 2 Folks, and the previous MG42s, of course. The Wehrmacht player did not actually opt for any form of veterancy, and that's a pretty solid move. You don't really need that veterancy early on if you just have 1 unit of the field, right? So he maximizes his field presence in favor of getting veterancy on just a couple of units, which is a pretty cool move. A Puma, however, goes down in the west portion of the map against an M10 there, and now the Wehrmacht player responds by getting veterancy 1 on his tanks and moving both his Stugs there. His position in the center is kind of weak with those 2 Stugs gone, and are we gonna be seeing any move by the American player? He seems to be gearing up for such a move. He even has another Sherman in the field, an M4 Sherman that is. And is it gonna be enough? We'll have to wait and see. Riflemen advancing at veterans level 1, forcing a retreat on some Volksgrenadiers. Artillery even coming down. The riflemen hit a mine. Puma making a move towards the center of the map, followed by the Stugs. I think the M4 Sherman is out of position. Sniper goes down to the fire of the artillery, one of the snipers that is. Snipers decap the midfield point in the east. I'm not just certain if that is the best use of the Rangers that you would like to have seen. M10's making a move towards the center of the map. Stug seems to be focusing down the M4 Sherman. M4 Sherman tries to back off, and it will be going behind the hedge. It doesn't have a damaged engine. It does have a window of opportunity to move out. Actually, the Stugs turn and try to face the M10. That was actually a blunder, I think. In any case, one of the Stugs goes down, the other has its main gun destroyed. One of the M10s went down as well. MG42 gets decrewed. Grenadiers with panzershrecks come into play, and are they going to take down the M10? No, the M10 is going to be fine, but I think that the M4 Sherman is not going to be fine at all. Destroyed engine, another strike shot will take it out, and yes, it goes down. The Sherman goes down. American infantry making their move towards the Wehrmacht position without being reinforced at all. The American player realizes that this is the only opportunity he had to exploit, but the Puma is still alive. Those squads of riflemen that were coming out of the American player's base were not really enough to take on the Puma, and with the Sherman and the 1M10 having gone down, the American player needs to repair, needs to reinforce, and needs to set up for a flank once again. Med bunker still standing. Grenadiers continuously being equipped with another Shrek, so we currently have 3 Shreks on the field, and that is many Shrek shots for any American armor to deal with. Rangers making a move towards the west portion of the map, most probably gonna harass the American player there. I'm not so fond of that particular use of Rangers. Even we saw them in the last engagement being occupied with decapping the medium field point to the east. Although you could argue that their bazookas are not really effective against the Stugs, but they're still effective against the Pumas, and in that last engagement it was the Puma that actually held up those advancing riflemen. In any case, we have another M10 out by the American player. Do you have supply yard upgrades? We don't have supply yard upgrades, so he may be hurting from manpower a bit. Rangers forcing a retreat on those pioneers in the west. Massive kind of blobbish move by the American player towards the medium fuel point in the east, meets an registered artillery response by the Wehrmacht player. Massive losses on one of the rifleman squads. equally bad losses on another rifleman squad, and 3 rifleman squad not being that much effective with no men on the field at this moment, give the Wehrmacht player all the time he needs to take back control of the medium victory point, to solidify his position around the med bunker, or even make a move towards one of the M10s. Most of those Shrek shots actually hit, and the M10 is out of control. As I said before, M10s actually paper thin armor, not really good against Shreks at all. The only effectiveness, of course, is against their penetration against the Wehrmacht armor. And in this case, there's no Wehrmacht armor to be seen on the field. Both of the Stuks have gone down, and at this time, it is more than safe to assume that the Wehrmacht player is gonna turn into an infantry heavy play, since he has dealt with a lot of the armor that the American player has thrown at him. He even has 2 snipers on the field. The American player's rangers were really not that much of a deal for him. He utilized his snipers to the best of their ability. He even replenished the loss of one of his snipers. He actually managed to kill the ranger squad in the previous engagement, and at this moment in the game, with his med bunker still standing, with his veterancy coming into play, he even gets veterans level 2 on his infantry, with his manpower income being more than enough, with his munition situation being rather good, and having the ability to call down even more register artillery as he wishes. I am pretty certain that the American player is kinda dead, as in GG dead. In any case, we even have a squad of Volksgrenadiers taking on a single M10, since they currently wield a bazooka that was previously thrown by the fallen Rangers. MG42 and the bulk of the Wehrmacht force make their way towards the position of the med bunker. Some more mines being hit by these riflemen. Those riflemen really stand no chance against so many Wehrmacht forces, and even with the backup of a Puma in case things go in the American player's favor, which was not actually a possibility in that last engagement. And here comes the very, very, very late counter-snipe in WC by the American player, and by counter-snipe I mean a sniper of his own. But I don't think it will be enough. The M10 even goes down to more Shreks being fired by those Volksgrenadiers. Actually 4 Shreks on those 2 squads. Oh, that's devastating for the M10s. Now the American player makes a move out of his base in his last valiant attempt to take on the Wehrmacht force, but lo and behold, 3 Wehrmacht snipers, not 1, no 2, but 3 Wehrmacht snipers. I mean, that's an overkill, I can tell you that. They are decloaked, however, so one of them may actually go down to the American counter-sniper, so in any case, they seem to be making a move towards the north. We'll be meeting up with those riflemen and those engineers. American sniper really doing nothing to counter-snipe. He probably realized, oh my god, there are 3 snipers there, so what if I counter-snipe? I'll most probably die, as exactly happened here. Veterans level 2 for those snipers as well. And I think this is the end of the game. We even have the register artillery coming down in the westmost medium fuel point. And yeah, the position of the Wehrmacht army is dominant at this moment. And we have the occasional smack talk by either of these players, which is always kind of fun to see, I guess. M10 suicides into Shrek Grenadiers. So that's not gonna be good at all. The American players probably means that the Shreks hit almost all the time against his armor. That was probably how the 100% translates. And yeah, well, we saw the Shreks hitting quite a lot, but it was still, I think, the overinvestment in M10s by by the American players was kind of not warranted for after a while, especially since you saw that double Shrek on one of the Grenadiers. I think it would be much better off, the American player that is, would be much better off with some back-tech motor pool, getting some AT guns, and just getting an M10 and a Sherman out of the tank depot to hold off some position on the map, you know, even prevent some harassment by the Wehrmacht player. So that is all for the game. We'll just let the game die out, as the American player seems to be content with not actually surrendering, but the Wehrmacht player actually utilized the early his early forces rather well. He fended off those two Rathmen at the beginning, put the American player on the back foot, and then when he was pressured, he just concentrated his forces around his med bunker. The manpower drain on the American players was quite significant for a large portion of that early game. He solidified his position around his med bunker, a med bunker that was never actually in danger of going down. Actually helped the Wehrmacht player get out 2 Grenadier squads, since as you see in the Wehrmacht player's base, he has no Krieg barracks, and of course those 2 Grenadier squads equipped with 4 panzershrecks made all the difference, as we said. So that's another lesson to be learned. You always have to deal with a med bunker sooner than later. And the best way to do so is, of course, get some demolition charges and use them during a flank. But, of course, that is all easy to say. Playing is a whole different thing. And with that, I'm going to bid you farewell. I hope you enjoyed the cast. I hope you enjoyed the game. And, yeah, that's all. Armageddon.